The cameras flashed. The crowd froze. And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession. A secret kept for 4 whole years, hidden behind closed doors and quiet New York strolls, finally stepping into the light.
Oh, it gives me chills just thinking about the reveal.
Right. Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame. Welcome to Starscope Report.
And welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. We're so glad you were here with us.
We really are. So, for you listening, we're taking a massive stack of sources today. We've got everything from in-depth Deadline interviews to, well, some seriously deep FOMOI Reddit threads.
Oh, the Reddit threads are incredible for this one.
They are gold. We're figuring out exactly how Marvel's Winter Soldier pulled off the ultimate Hollywood vanishing act and, what it means for this rapidly changing landscape of celebrity privacy.
It really is a fascinating case study because we live in an era where, like, a celebrity's morning coffee order is instantly geolocated, right? It's broadcast to millions.
Exactly. You literally can't hide anything.
But Sebastian Stan and Annabelle Wallis somehow managed to keep a serious relationship and a pregnancy completely off the radar. It's wild. We're looking at a narrative that forces us to reevaluate everything we assume about how visible public figures actually have to be.
Yeah, I want to start by dissecting the timeline of this, because the logistics of maintaining this level of secrecy are just staggering. Keeping a Hollywood romance out of the tabloids for 4 years is like pulling off an Avengers-level heist.
It really is. It takes a staggering amount of effort to not be seen.
It does. So for context, we're talking about Sebastian Stan, who's 43, and Annabelle Wallis, 41. You probably know her best from Peaky Blinders.
Such a great show, by the way.
So good. But if you trace the reporting back, the very first whispers of them being in the same orbit started in May 2022. They were at Robert Pattinson's birthday party.
Right, which was just a few months after Annabelle's split from Chris Pine, I think.
Spot on. And then after that initial sighting at the party, it was just absolute radio silence.
Complete information blackout. For 4 years, they allegedly opted for, staying in, watching British television like Gogglebox.
Okay, Gogglebox is hilarious, though. Good choice.
It is. Or they'd take these incredibly low-key walks in New York. And the reason this works so well is actually rooted in the economics of the paparazzi.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a second here. Are we maybe giving them too much credit, like as these PR masterminds?
How do you mean?
Well, you hear about actors executing these brilliant evasion strategies, but the paparazzi are spread pretty thin these days, and Instagram has really devalued the candid street shot, right?
That's true.
So could they have just gotten lucky? Is it simply a matter of, I don't know, not going to trendy spots like Craig's in LA or Nobu?
I mean, it's a fair question, but luck only gets you through the first 6 months, 4 years. That requires a mechanism.
A mechanism. Okay, walk me through that.
Yeah, so avoiding the paparazzi hotspots is step one, obviously.
Yeah.
But the mechanism of Hollywood privacy is essentially a political shadow campaign. You have to rely on rock-solid NDAs for your inner circle.
Which I'm sure their teams handled immediately.
Oh, absolutely. You have to use decoy cars.
Mm.
But the most effective tactic, and this is what they executed brilliantly, is starving the market by being aggressively boring.
Aggressively boring. I love that term.
It's true. A photo of 2 actors in sweatpants holding coffees isn't worth a massive payout to a tabloid. Not unless there's some scandalous narrative attached to it. So by refusing to give the press any drama, they devalued their own paparazzi market.
They made themselves unprofitable to follow. That is brilliant. It's like hiding in plain sight by becoming part of the wallpaper.
Precisely.
But, you can't hide a pregnancy forever. And that brings us to the catalyst, April 13th, 2026. They were spotted walking their dogs in New York.
Right, the famous dog walk.
Yeah, and Annabelle was wearing very loose-fitting clothing, but the bump was visible, and the internet just immediately exploded. When you've dammed up the river of gossip for 4 years, a single drop creates a flood.
Exactly. The visual of that dog walk shattered the illusion of their complete absence. And what's really interesting is how they handled the aftermath.
Yeah, because they didn't panic, did they?
Not at all. They didn't rush out a glossy magazine cover or like a heavily curated Instagram post with tiny baby shoes. They just waited.
And when the confirmation did come, it was so understated it almost caught people off guard again. It happened in mid-May during an interview with Deadline.
Oh, the Deadline piece. That was a great read.
Yeah, Sebastian was actually there to promote his new film, Fjord. But he broke his silence on the baby news, and he didn't give a flowery speech. He just said, quote, "I want to be a good dad."
And the follow-up to that quote is where we really get a glimpse into the psychology of this new era for him. He told the interviewer, "I'm feeling the responsibility of being a good father, and not to mention a good man." He added, "I'm 43, and I feel, in a lot of ways, I'm just starting to learn now."
That is so vulnerable.
Think about the mechanics of a typical celebrity interview. Leading men, especially in the superhero genre, they're usually trained to project unwavering confidence. They have to be the alpha.
Right, the invincible action star.
Exactly.
Mm.
So for a guy who plays hardened assassins to sit down and say, "I'm 43 and I'm just starting to learn," it strips away the artifice. It's a profound level of emotional openness.
It totally shifts how you view him. He's rejecting the expectation that a successful movie star has to have it all figured out.
He really is.
And as we'll get into a bit later, the way they eventually chose to break this cover on the red carpet is practically a masterclass in crisis PR, even though there was no crisis.
Oh, so calculated. In the best way.
Absolutely. But first, we really need to look at how the public digested all of this. And that's not even the wildest part. Wait until you hear how the notoriously intense fandom reacted when the news broke.
It was definitely not what anyone expected.
If you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead. So, the public reaction. It completely defies the standard operating procedure for celebrity gossip.
It really does. It's
Yeah.
arguably the most surprising data point in all of this.
I spent a lot of time reading through the massive threads on the Arfamore subreddit. For those listening who might not be familiar, that community is essentially a massive brain trust of pop culture archivists and very sharp critics.
They don't miss a beat. They know everything.
They really do. And their reaction was hilarious because it was pure, unadulterated timeline confusion.
The collective amnesia was palpable.
Yes. One user commented, quote, 4 years. That makes zero sense to me. They got together yesterday. What is time? It completely short-circuited people's brains.
I was confused too, honestly. The timeline is wild.
But once the shock of the timeline wore off, the overriding sentiment that dominated the viral conversation was overwhelming praise for their ages.
Yes, the age gap, or rather the lack thereof.
Exactly. In an industry that is notoriously obsessed with pairing older leading men with women in their early 20s, the internet threw an absolute parade for a 43-year-old man dating a 41-year-old woman.
Which is frankly a sad commentary on the state of Hollywood. That an age-appropriate partnership is treated as a revolutionary act.
It really is when you think about it.
But you look at the top-voted comments, and they all echo that sentiment. People were saying, "I love to see a man over 40 with an age-appropriate partner."
There was this collective sigh of relief, like, thank goodness he wasn't following the stereotypical cliche of dating a 22-year-old model.
And mixed in with all that praise were the inevitable demands for Annabelle's skincare routine.
Oh, of course. Because she looks phenomenal. Drop the routine is the ultimate currency of internet respect.
It really is the highest compliment.
But there's another layer to this fandom reaction that I found deeply fascinating. We have to talk about the stans.
The hardcore fan bases.
Yeah. You have these massive, incredibly intense fan bases for Marvel actors. Historically, when a heartthrob actor gets into a serious relationship or gets married, there's a vocal subset of fans who view it as a personal betrayal.
Oh, people were bracing for a meltdown. They were drawing comparisons to how intense Chris Evans fans reacted to his marriage, right?
Exactly. The parasocial entitlement can be incredibly toxic. Fans develop these one-sided relationships where they feel a sense of ownership over the celebrity's personal life.
It's a huge issue in fandoms today.
So why didn't the meltdown happen here? Why did the so-called Delulu fans actually react with overwhelming support praising the relationship for giving off healthy vibes?
I think it comes down to the boundaries they established from day one. When a celebrity constantly commodifies their dating life, posting constant updates, doing couples interviews, using the relationship for clout, they invite the fans into the living room, so to speak.
That makes a lot of sense. You're giving them access.
Right. By keeping the door firmly shut for 4 years, Sebastian and Annabelle trained the public not to expect access. Furthermore, there's no obvious power imbalance here.
Yeah, Annabelle has her own established, highly successful career.
Exactly. There's no messy baggage for the internet to latch onto and weaponize. The fans looked at the mutual respect and the lack of drama, and the parasocial anger just had no fuel. They had no choice but to approve.
It's a really sharp point. You can't critique a dynamic that hasn't given you any material to critique. And, this idea of healthy dynamics transitions perfectly into an interview that surfaced right around the time this baby news dropped.
Oh, the masculinity comments.
Yes, Sebastian went viral for his comments on modern masculinity, and this completely blew my mind because it intersects so deeply with him becoming a father.
Hmm.
He actively spoke out about how young men today are suffering from a lack of true male role model.
He was incredibly pointed in his critique. He noted that young men are being surrounded by narcissistic, very aggressive, very entitled examples of being a man. He called it painful to watch.
That's a strong statement.
Very strong. But more importantly, he outlined the antidote. He stressed that we need to be teaching young men to embrace vulnerability, to understand that it's okay to experience depression, to be sad, to cry.
He explicitly said nobody is educating them on how to embrace depression or being sad, feeling things, being weak, crying. And he revealed that a lot of this perspective came from reconnecting with his own biological father later in life.
Which showed him the importance of simply allowing yourself to feel.
Exactly. Now, I have to push back slightly here, or at least view it through a cynical Hollywood lens.
Go for it.
Sebastian is about to star in Fjord, playing a father. He's stepping into this new, mature phase of his career. Is it possible these comments are part of a carefully calibrated PR narrative to rebrand him from the brooding winter soldier into the thoughtful, mature leading man?
It's natural to look for the PR angle, and surely his publicists aren't unhappy with the narrative. But you have to look at the risk involved in making those statements.
What kind of risk?
Well, the core demographic for superhero films still heavily overlaps with traditional, sometimes rigid views of masculinity.
Oh.
Actively calling out aggressive, entitled male behavior as narcissistic risks alienating a vocal segment of that audience.
Oh, that's true. It could definitely backfire.
Right. So if it were purely a PR play, it's a remarkably risky one. The raw delivery of his comments suggests a genuine, deeply personal philosophical shift, undoubtedly accelerated by the impending reality of fatherhood.
He is actively dismantling the very tropes of the stoic, emotionally repressed men he often plays on screen.
Exactly. He's showing that real strength is the capacity to process your pain, not bury it.
When you really think about it, it's actually incredibly radical. He's laying the emotional foundation for his child publicly, setting the record straight on the kind of man he intends to be.
It's powerful stuff.
It really is, and the way they chose to finally integrate this private reality with their public Hollywood lives brings us to the Golden Globes. Later in the deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming on the red carpet. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because we need to talk about how they orchestrated their return to the spotlight.
Yes, the 2025 award season. This is where the strategy pivots from evasion to absolute control.
For years, as we covered, they were practically ghosts. Even on Valentine's Day in 2026, they were bundled up, trying to blend in on the streets of New York. But flashback a year prior to the 2025 Golden Globes. This is the turning point.
Such an iconic moment.
Sebastian wins Best Actor for his indie film A Different Man. The camera is on him, his name is called, and instead of the usual polite hug with the co-star, he kisses Annabelle, right there on the broadcast.
Everyone was like, wait, what?
Exactly. And then he takes the stage, and at the end of his acceptance speech, he points directly to her and says to the entire world, Annabelle, I love you.
She then continues to support him visibly, right through the 97th Oscars. If we break down the PR mechanics of this, it is a masterstroke.
How so?
By stepping into the light at the Golden Globes, they anchored their public debut to a moment of undeniable professional triumph. They didn't debut their relationship via a leaked paparazzi shot or a messy tabloid rumor.
Right. They took control.
Exactly. They debuted it on one of the biggest stages in the world on a night where he was being celebrated as one of the best actors of his generation.
They completely reclaimed their narrative. It's the ultimate power move. It sends a message like, we aren't hiding because we have something to be ashamed of. We are private, but tonight we are celebrating.
And it set the stage perfectly for the eventual baby news. Because by the time the pregnancy was revealed, the public had already accepted them as a unified, supportive couple.
Exactly. It's about establishing the baseline on your own terms. And we have to look at how this personal milestone intersects with what is undeniably the peak of both of their careers.
The synergy is staggering. Let's look at the slate.
Okay, so Sebastian has Fjord, premiering at Cannes on May 18th, 2026. And the plot of this film is so serendipitous, it feels scripted by the universe.
He really does.
He plays a Romanian father of 5 who moves to his wife's small Norwegian hometown and ends up facing intense public scrutiny over his parenting. The thematic overlap of playing a father under a microscope, right as he becomes a father under the literal microscope of the global press, is wild.
Art imitating life in the most literal sense. And while he's navigating the prestige of Cannes, he's also locked in to return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, yes, Avengers, Doomsday.
Exactly. He's back as Bucky Barnes, and that drops in December 2026. Tom Hiddleston is already in the press calling the film magnificent, so he is straddling the line between high-art European cinema and the biggest blockbuster franchise on the planet.
And Annabelle's schedule is just as packed. She's starring opposite Jason Statham in a major action film called Mutiny, coming out in August 2026.
Which looks incredible, by the way.
So good. And she's attached to the massive Netflix thriller Unabomber, starring alongside Jacob Tremblay and Russell Crowe, diving into the radicalization of Ted Kaczynski.
They aren't just a power couple in name. They are both operating at the absolute zenith of the industry.
Which is precisely why their boundary setting was so vital. In Hollywood, when two massive stars get together, the relationship itself often becomes a product.
Sadly, yes. It becomes an entity to be managed, monetized, and publicized. By refusing to play that game, they ensured that their work remained the primary focus.
Yeah, they didn't let it overshadow their talent.
They built their foundation in the dark, they achieved their successes independently, and now they are navigating this new, highly visible era from a place of immense security.
It is incredibly rare to see a Hollywood story where every single faction, the notoriously cynical press, the intense Marvel fandoms, the hypercritical Reddit communities, all seem to be genuinely happy for the people involved.
It's unheard of, honestly.
It really is a massive breath of fresh air. It proves that the public's appetite isn't just for scandal and schadenfreude. We also crave stories of normalcy, mutual respect, and healthy boundaries.
It serves as a new blueprint for the modern leading actor. It proves that the old studio system rules, where you owed the public every drop of your personal life in exchange for stardom, are dead.
Thank goodness for that.
Truly. You can lead a billion-dollar franchise, win major awards, and still keep your sanctuary intact. That 4-year secret wasn't just a logistical victory. It was a profound assertion of autonomy.
It really was. And as we wrap up this deep dive, it leaves you with a really compelling thought about the future.
What's that?
Well, Sebastian Stan has built his legacy playing characters defined by their armor. Assassins, anti-heroes, men who use violence to mask their brokenness.
Right.
But as he steps into this new reality, actively championing emotional intelligence and vulnerability for the sake of his child, you have to wonder, will this profound personal evolution change the types of scripts he's drawn to?
That's a great question.
Or, perhaps more interestingly, will knowing the man beneath the armor permanently change how we, the audience, view his most iconic, hardened characters on screen?
When an actor fundamentally shifts their real-world philosophy, it inevitably bleeds into the subtext of their performances. Watching the Winter Soldier moving forward is going to be a very different experience when, the actor playing him is actively dismantling the very concept of toxic stoicism.
It adds a fascinating new dimension to everything he touches. Sometimes the biggest revelations aren't the secrets people hide, but the truths they finally choose to share.
Beautifully said.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.